So now we're going to do workshop C, building the catapult, and we're going to do experiment number 2, long distance ball shoot. So we're going to need a lot of different pieces, so I suggest getting them out before you start. And we're going to start with image A. So in image A, you're going to need 2 short frames, and you're going to need 1 joint pin per frame. You're going to need 2 anchor pins per frame, and you're going to need 1 shaft plug per frame. And now we're going to move on to image B. And you should use the numbers in image B to figure out which pieces go inside of which holes. So starting with the frame on the left, we're going to count 3 holes from the bottom and then stick a joint pin in the 4th hole. So there's a joint pin. And directly across from that, we're going to stick an anchor pin on the opposite side. So it should also be in the 4th hole. Then we're going to count 2 holes, leave them empty, and then stick a shaft plug right here. And then count 2 more holes, and then in that last hole, again stick an anchor pin on the other side. So it should look like this. Then with the frame on the right, we're going to count 3 holes, and then in the 4th hole, stick a joint pin on the back side right here. On top, we're going to count 2 holes, and then in the 3rd hole, stick an anchor pin. Then we're going to leave 3 holes empty and stick a shaft plug on the back. So there should be 3 holes here. And then in the second to last hole, stick another anchor pin. So there should be 1 hole in between these 2. Then you're going to take a short rod and you're going to take the green piece out of your die cut sheet right here. And you're going to fold this green piece along its creases, and you're going to cut out the little square holes. And then with it folded, you can stick the short rod inside of it. So now we have image C, and now we can move on to image D. So in image D, you're going to stick these 2 frames next to each other like this and basically sandwich this short rod in between them. You're going to stick the anchor pins into these holes. So like this on one side, and then like this on the other side. Then you're going to need another short rod, a medium axle, and a small gear wheel. So now we can move on to image E. And in image E, we're going to stick this short rod right in between here, and we're going to connect it using a medium axle. So with the stop on the left side, you're going to slide it through the bottom hole of these short frames, through the end hole of this short rod, and then out the other side, and then you're going to stick a small gear wheel on it to make it stay. Next, we're going to take a large frame, and we're going to need another piece from our die cut sheet. So we're going to cut out this piece, and we're going to cut out these rectangular and square holes down here at the bottom, and then we're going to attach it to this large frame. So we're going to need the 2 other shaft plugs, and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th hole and the 6th hole are going to be visible through this rectangular hole in this cutout. So in the 5th hole, you're not going to put anything, and in the 6th hole, you're going to stick a shaft plug. Then in this hole, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th hole from the other side, you're going to stick another shaft plug. So it looks like this. So now we can move on to image F. And in image F, we're going to need another large frame, and we're going to lift this up and use rubber bands to attach this. So take your rubber band, and you want to put it through the 5th hole from the top, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then put it through here, and wrap it around 1 shaft plug on one side, and then the other shaft plug on the other side. So it should look like this. Now we can move on to image G. And in image G, we're going to connect this setup with this setup. So you're going to stick these two joint pins that are on both sides into the corner holes of these large frames. So here's one, the top corner holes, and then here is the other one. Then you're going to need a base plate, and you're going to need a long rod. And now we're ready to move on to image H. And in image H, we're going to take the long rod, and with the stop in your left hand, you're going to stick it through the third hole in this large frame. So count 1, 2, 3, and then stick it through the back side. Then underneath this setup right here, and then through the hole in the front side. So it looks like this. Then you're going to lift up this base plate and connect it to these large frames. Alright, so now we're ready to do experiment 2, long distance ball shoot. And in order to do it, you're going to need measuring tape, paper, and a pencil. So you're going to want to tilt the small frame back until the reading hole lines up with the angle you want to test. And the reading hole is the second hole from the end. So right now it looks like we're testing about a 25-degree angle. And depending on what angle you want, you can move this long axle around into different holes so that the small frame will fall at different angles. So right now we're going to keep it at the 25-degree angle in this third hole. And you're going to want to get a short axle. You're going to push back this short rod and stick a short axle into this end hole right here so that the rubber band is pulled back. Then you're going to stick a wooden ball inside of it like this, and you're going to turn this short axle until it sounds like it catches. Then when you want to release the catapult, you're going to pull this short axle out and watch the ball fly. And then you can use the measuring tape to measure the distances that balls traveled at different angles and record it on your piece of paper. So let's try it out on the floor. You want somewhere where you have a little bit of room, and see what happens. Okay, so testing the same angle of 25 degrees, we're going to take out this small axle and watch what happens to the ball. So now let's try a higher angle by putting the long axle even closer to the end of the large frame. So this angle is about 60 degrees. And once again, we're going to bring this short rod back and stick the short axle through the end hole. Then we're going to stick the wooden ball in here and turn the short axle till it catches. And holding this firm, we're going to... So it flew at a much steeper angle. If you noticed, it flew kind of straight up. So let's try this one last time with an even smaller angle. So we'll move the short axle to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hole, let's say. So now we're looking at an angle of about 15 degrees. And once again, we're going to bring this short rod back, stick the small axle in here, drop a wooden ball, turn the axle so that it catches, and then we're going to... Oops. And then we're going to release the short axle. So that flew at a much lower angle. And you can record all of these distances on your piece of paper and compare the differences.